Hey friends and family, hey loved ones, hey fools and magicians and gardeners, and kings and queens, artists and creators. Hi, how are you today? So just making room, making the space for my practice and my play, for me living life through all my ways, and allowing all beings to be as they are in any given moment, exactly as they are and as they will be. So yeah, continuing with my alchemy, and I have a lot of stories and a lot of gems and nuggets and synchronicities to share, but yeah, we'll see what wants to be expressed right here. Yeah, what can we hold the space for? What can I hold the space for? My intention is to hold it for all of me and we, holding the space that I need for me and allowing all others to be who they need, allowing all others to be who they are and who they get to be, the roles they get to play, and the stories they choose to write, create, and participate in, to reinforce or to bring the light in. Yeah. For that liberation and leaving the myth behind. Yeah, leaving the old myths behind and embodying new, true, full, whole stories. Embodying, whole mythologies. The knowledge that leads to wholeness and individuation, an indivisible whole. So working with Medusa, you see my mascot here behind me. She's beautiful and grotesque. She holds it all. She's the paradox. Yeah. She's the one that was both loved and feared. And so she kind of does remind me of Kali and Durga and that like warrior feminine spirit, and that kind of archetypal image. And the hag. Yeah, the hag is so wise and so full of love and wisdom, but she was feared and resisted as well. So working with the hag right now, and the monster, and the mirror, and Medusa, the dark goddess. Yeah, so seeing her from monster to divine wisdom. And there's so many rich symbols and so many stories. And I just ordered a bunch of books the other day. And there was one, that I just got called Women and Other Monsters Building a New Mythology, Jess Zimmerman. So I haven't dug into any of these ones yet. But I'm excited and willing to make the room for them. And through this process. So it has been a challenging process and a challenging time. And it has had its rewards and its downtime and its fun time and its playtime. But man, it's been a drag at some points, and it's felt like a drag sometimes. But it's just working with I'm tired of this. I'm so tired stories. Working with those stories. And that's an old motherfucking story. An old story. It's such an old story. Chronic fatigue and just overdoing it, overgiving, overpleasing to my detriment. And so just looking at those things like last week where I was just feeling so drained and so draggy and so tired and just so exhausted, so mentally exhausted. Yeah, it's just been a feeling of exhaustion like the last month, but actually, I don't know. There's weird energy surges, and it's been like weird sleep patterns lately as well. So I'm just kind of all over the place and just making the room and making the space for things to be as they are. And just responding to my body's needs and remembering to listen to my body's wisdom and intelligence, guidance, and navigation system to take care of my physical needs and pay attention to what is serving or what is depleting me. And I've been getting some messages and some good guidance and movement and stillness and movement. Yeah, so gonna listen and make the room and make the space for my body to show me what she needs and how she can teach me through that impulse and that spontaneous movement and expression, willing to play with that, and explore that, and even just make it simple and allow myself just to dance like no one's watching, because nobody is watching. And to see how she wants to move and what parts of my body are holding old tension and resentments and things. And really, I do have a massage scheduled this week, so that'll help as well too. Self-care and nurturing. But so just kind of feeling been pretty tired. I'm tired of bullshit and frustrated. And I realized that, I'm judging myself for feeling frustrated, because it's I shouldn't still feel so frustrated about this. I should move on already. I should be, the shoulding. Shutting down what is now. Instead of just, okay, hello, frustration. Thank you, frustration. There's room for you here. So I just started a practice earlier today that I received a couple days ago, or maybe even last week, from my Medusa sadhana that I'm participating in. And it was a practice and an exercise of, allowing all the space for ourselves, even especially the parts of ourselves that we just don't like, or we try to avoid, or try to hide, or minimize, or deny, or shove away, or whatever, that we don't hold space for, and that ends up freezing us inside. And so that's the part of us that does turn to stone, that isn't allowed to be alive. And so it's trapped, frozen energy that's stuck inside, and then has its own energy leaks or implosions or explosions through the shadow, through shadow dumping or shadow behaviors or shadow choices, shadow agendas, drives, motivations, all those things. Because we're living a lie. We're not including the whole of ourselves. And what is, acknowledging what is, without manipulating it or distorting it or being tricked into thinking we need to do something with it or fix it, make it better than it is, or not allow it to be as it is and then let it go, or let it move, or let it be expressed and then honored and freed. And then it recirculates, and it's new energy for the new life and the new possibility and the new moment and all of that. So it is interesting, kind of sabotaging that life cycle. And it is really so interesting to look into. So it was, just starting this little practice that has given me so much. I've worked with this one a lot the last couple days, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, this is right up my alley. I love this one. Because it's just, it's about writing it out, and I'm all about writing it out. Yeah, and expressing it and giving it a voice, and allowing those voices that were silenced, allowing them space to speak and be heard. Yeah, and doing my best to witness and observe. And when I'm holding that space or when I'm denying that space for myself. And just, yeah, oh my gosh, I've received so much about that because I really, really did need that so much. This relates so well to some of my relationships I needed to walk away from or distance myself from or create my own space from so I could hold space for me and leave the confusion temporarily and come back home to me to honor my own space and my quiet time and my receptivity that I needed to cancel out the external noise, come back inside to hear my own voice and the voices inside that needed to speak through me for me. And so, yeah, it's been a gift and a blessing, but it's also felt personally devastating. It's bittersweet. It's possible to miss something but not want it back. Yeah. And some of the things that I miss as well about these relationships maybe were glossed over fantasy ideals of what I wanted it to be, and how sometimes I felt like, oh, yep, maybe there was that one moment of, yep, this is it. But then trying to relive that fantasy or recreate that fantasy because this is how it should feel and this is what it's supposed to be and this is what's real, kind of interesting phantoms and fantasia, the false or the hijacked imagination. So this practice, yeah, I'll totally share a little bit more, but it's like speaking as the goddess of. And it's just like these qualities that we don't like or that we're not comfortable with or we've had a hard time sitting with or being with or allowing ourselves to be with. And so, yeah, it's the I am the goddess of. And so, yeah, I just started writing this little brief piece about the frustration because, yeah, I caught myself earlier thinking, oh, I'm so frustrated, and going into a story. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that, of what it was around and what it was relating to. But I'm just like thinking to myself, fucking good job. Good fucking job. And it's all your fault, kind of a thing. And I'm just like, oh, that's the victim. Hello, victim. The victim of frustration, so frustrated with this shit. Yeah, like not allowing certain things to play out how they need to be played out. And it's just like, and knowing like that, yeah, this, even though it doesn't feel good and it's not comfortable, it's like these necessary changes need to take place and they need to happen. But it's just like, sometimes it doesn't feel very good and it doesn't look very pretty on the surface. And it does have that potential of that devastation because the tower collapsing, so that all the false things, all the things that are no longer aligned, collapse and fall so that we can build something new, more true, on a solid foundation. Yeah. So it still sucks though sometimes and it doesn't feel good. Yeah. And so just, yeah, looking at those things. So I am the goddess of frustration and impatience. I am the goddess of irritation, exasperation, and disbelief. I am the goddess of shock. I am the goddess of grief, sorrow, and shame. I am the goddess of pain. I am the goddess forgotten, cast out, rejected, dismembered, excluded, and cut out. I am the goddess of rejection. I am the goddess of suppression. I am the goddess of victimization. I am the goddess of frozen blame. Yeah, so that's like so super potent right there. So super potent, and there's more to explore there. But that's like all I had so far, and that's the last page from today. But it was like, oh, that's a good start. That's a good beginning right there. Yeah, to see where what she's really needing and asking and offering to me. What is she presenting? Yeah. Instead of like me rejecting this, like God, this goddess of frustration or this feeling of frustration. Like, I don't want to feel frustrated, but I am. I'm feeling frustrated, and I'm trying to guilt myself or tell myself, shame myself or guilt myself or chastise myself into not feeling frustrated about this. But I am, so just allow myself to feel that way about it, you know? Like, I don't need to fuel it and get on my self-righteous high horse and keep feeding this self-righteous indignation. But, like, I can, like, practice that feeling it, kissing it, and flowing with it. So the feel, kiss, flow practice I shared a day or two ago is just like, feel what you're feeling, acknowledge what you're feeling, allow what you're feeling. Is there space for it? Breathe into it, make room for it. There's space for it here. Everything else is here too. But just make the room for this feeling that wants to move. Because if I don't, then I freeze it, and it goes into a packet of energy, of frozen energy, and it's still cycling in there, and it's preventing, me from unfreezing these certain frozen packets of energy that are trapped, like, inside, that can't feed my own life force. And that's like what's zapping my energy. So yeah, it's an energy drain and an energy leak, and energy that's being subverted, going around in circles, chasing my own tails, and keeping me stuck on the victim judge wheel and the wheel of suffering, the wheel of samsara, creating or sustaining more suffering, playing into that, keeping it going. So I don't want to play into that. I don't want to play that game anymore. Like, yeah. And that's what I've been so frustrated and irritated with others about, like, making their choices of, oh, they're just playing into that and they're continuing and prolonging the suffering. And we should just, deal with our shit, like, and get real with it, And so it's like, I can see where I have been frustrated with myself and with others, and how that reflection of being frustrated with others, like, really is if I'm really frustrated with where I've denied my own self and sold my own self and dishonored and disallowed and abandoned my own self. So, yeah, that's what it's about. And so I'll just share what I wrote today, and then I would love to share some little nuggets from the Medusa, Sadhana, or Sadhana. You say tomato, I say tomato, and sometimes it's tomato. So, whatever. See you later, alligator. It's so funny. It's like the insecure part of myself that wants to get it right, that trips me up, and I get in my own way, and it's so funny to see that at play. And also, there's such great synchronicities and gifts being offered as well for me, with, like, this insecurity, jealousy, and devotion. And loyalty. Yeah, so the amazing thing, the other amazing things that I want to share too is what I found in this book earlier today. I Invoke the Goddess, and this is visualization of Hindu, Greek, and Egyptian deities, and it's by Colette Trobe. And I looked up Radha and Nephthys in here today, and oh my goddess, so I can't even tell you how rich and potent and fertile and beautiful and perfect these deities and archetypes and energies and aspects are to work with right now. Like, such beautiful gifts, like, coming in and coming through to be received and offered and honored and freed, like, for, through this journey of healing and recovery and soul healing, retrieval, through this upheaval. It's just, all things coming back to ourselves, coming back home, honoring all of our resources and claiming all that we are, so we can be full, and we can be that full. Yeah, so that's so great in so many ways, and we'll see how that plays out and presents itself. Here we go, November 17th, 2021, Wednesday, and we're in a huge cycle right now of new beginnings and endings. Oh my goodness, it is so amazing. So I'm going to put like a couple different videos as well in the description box about like the energies and the alignments and all of the things like that have to do with this eclipse and the energies and the archetypes. And there is like something really amazing, all these other synchronicities that I really appreciate, like with just like even the asteroids like Eris and Vesta right now, because those things super relate to what I'm working with and integrating. So great. So I'm working with astrology cycles, archetypes, myths, stories, fun, laughter, play, joy, spontaneity, gaiety, shenaniganery, and generosity, receptivity, allowance, simplicity, authenticity, patience, faith, trust, grace, humility, forgiveness, fullness and healing, and gentle strength. Drawing on the life force and the unseen power within, all the profound, deep complexity. Knowing that the power of the beast within me is for me to know and draw from within. Knowing that the darkness inside is my garden for the light to grow in. And so it begins. Embracing the adversary as a worthy opponent that insists on being conquered. And inviting the child within that doesn't need support from the ego. The one that holds innocence and trusts life to carry her, provide for her, hold her, and help her move in, through, and forward. In life. In and through life. So I just wrote about Radha and Nephthys in I Invoke the Goddess. OMG, love for me and we. So page 55 to 69, Radha, and page 93 to 99, Nephthys. Such great gifts, visualizations, qualities, and inspiration to draw upon. So Radha helps with devotional love, faith and love, trust and acceptance in union and separation. She helps with either cutting the cords or repairing a relationship. And so there was 2 meditations and visualizations in this beautiful book. To receive. And so it's so great, so beautiful. And I'm so just in awe, in deep awe and wonder, like, about how all these things just are so freely given and available. Like, just looking and following my own intuition, my own impulses, my own nudges, and my own feelings, and just like reading my own energy, and just it's a fun play. It's a fun play with myself. And that is another fun thing too as well, like that we're every part, we're every player, we're every character, every aspect in the story is a part of ourselves. So Nephthys assists with healing old hurts and making amends, clearing space, and forgiveness. So I thought that was so great, because these goddesses are helping me with everything, like, that I have asked for help to reconcile and honor within me, within myself, capital S, self, so that if I can, like, hold that space for me, and I can make that room for me, and I can make that time for me, and I can make my self-care a priority, and my self-love and my well-being, love for me. It doesn't have to be a drag or a drudgery. It's a gift, and it's love for me. And I can lighten it up with play and make the space for it all to be, for all these players to play, and have a place to play their roles, their legitimate roles, and their legitimate parts through this play. And so the birds, that came up the last 2 days for me: pelican, seagull, duck, and goose. Language of the birds. All relates to emotions, responsible communication, stimulus, stories, buoyancy, self-care, cycles, change, cleansing, clearing, behavior, and awareness, inner knowing, and irrational, instinctual intelligence, breath, and honoring inner resources, the power of flight, and flowing with the currents of divine life force. And so the divine feminine is both beautiful and grotesque, like the spider, life and death. Beautiful, terrible, and amazing. Can I allow her to fully exist and truly express all she is? Frustration isn't wrong for me to feel. It's what I do with it that matters. It's what I choose that really counts and makes a difference for my energy. Honoring my inner resources and all of my fertility includes holding space and allowing a place to be with my frustration and allow it to flow through me. Or do I get to allow me to flow through my feelings and allow them to move through me? My well-being's field of energy and life's field of plenty. The hideous, the hidden, the unacceptable, and the undesirable. Uranian vision, sacrifice, necessary changes, and personal devastation. Ego death and letting go of attachments. The tower collapses and we fall on our asses. A fistful of assholes and a gaggle of idiots. If you feel depressed, make sure you are not in fact surrounded by assholes and chumps with their heads up their asses. Some parts of me feel so very angry and indignant. Self-righteous indignation, condemnation, judgmental, hypercritical, harsh standards of right perfection. The "you're fucking doing it all wrong, asshole," and the powerless, helpless victim watching the train wreck collision with the circus clown car, preordained visions or implanted images. The Cassandra complex and the instinct injury, full soul neutralization, turning her into stone again. Frozen in place, frozen in time, frozen in lies, a life frozen, not allowed to be alive. Be wary of becoming addicted to self-righteous indignation and victim entitlement, judge on the hamster wheel stories, feeding and fueling the negative emotions and keeping it going through a refusal to accept or surrender. Feel, kiss, flow. Letting go and acknowledging the pain, grief, sadness, loss, personal and collective devastation. Look more into the demon complex, where we feel unworthy and evil, or we're projecting that. Instinct injury, leg traps and being captured, decapitated, internally split and fragmented. And so, that freezing and that frozen and that unfreezing thing is a theme that keeps emerging the last week. And I noticed that, that was really cool the other day. On one of my videos from a couple days ago, my friend Morgan commented, and she said the night goddess spooked her, and that was before she had that mask on. And so I thought that was funny too, because that's pretty disturbing and scary. That's pretty ugly. That's pretty grotesque. And so I just was writing her back and just kind of telling her a little bit about kind of what I've been seeing about this mannequin that my husband ordered for me a couple months ago. And we were joking around, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna have your very own fag to play with," and stuff. And it's just so funny. Before I even got her, we were playing around with her names, and it was just this is gonna be fun. There's so many possibilities. And I could imagine dressing her up like she's my big huge Barbie doll, And like, yeah, dressing her up and putting different hats and different clothes and different roles on her, and like, yeah, sort of like as a mirror and a reflection of, yeah, this inner work, this shadow work that I'm doing. And yeah, and she's already been so fun, so much fun, and she's helped me see a lot of things about this frozen one, like this one that couldn't exist or wasn't allowed to be alive within me because she was told that she was bad, she wasn't good enough, or that she just didn't fit, you know. She didn't fit with the program and the yeah, all the other agendas and things. So she had to go, you know. So she's been exiled, and now she's being welcomed back. So welcome back home. This monster, you know, this monster that I thought I knew, but yeah, she's really so much more. Yeah, maybe she's a little scary because she disrupts what I think I know. Yeah, and she disrupts that status quo. And so that's why she's been demonized and buried, you know, and frozen. And that's like where we've turned ourselves to stone, our hearts to stone, or our minds to stone. So, yeah, it's something to chew on. So I wrote back my friend and told her like a little bit about what I'd seen about this this mascot of mine, my very own fag. And so she's a great mascot, model, and ally. I feel like she's my ginormous Jungian sand play Barbie doll doppelganger, or my evil twin, and a really great reflection or representation of my inner idealists' inherited, distorted cultural beliefs and standards of false perfection. The plastic, superficial, artificial, yeah, standards of false perfection. This plastic, superficial, artificial Stepford wife archetype, and the constructed, propped up, polished outer appearance or external image of acceptable life, living a frozen life lie. She's super fun to dress up and play with. So, yeah, it is. It's funny because I really actually do love costuming and things. Like, I always have, like, loved that kind of stuff. And then there was this period of time where I wouldn't allow myself that, and it almost seemed like, yeah, a repression or a denial of my sensual feminine, like the sensual feminine, like, because I felt like I had to hide, and that it brought too much attention to me. So like I've gone back and forth between two extremes at times, like where, yeah, and it's really funny too, like to look into that, to where I've judged, like, or it's inherited beliefs, so it's just an old program of judgment. Yeah. So it's like learned behavior or automatic default settings. Yeah. In certain ways to automatically describe something that fits in with like this certain description of what's not right in certain ways. And so, yeah, judging myself for wanting to look beautiful and adorned and really put together, like dressed to the nines. And sometimes that comes across as like superficial, like in certain ways. I'm willing to look more deeper into that and see what wants to come through around that. Yeah, and it's just like, it's like we're expected to, in certain ways, look our best or be put together in a certain way that society deems acceptable and beautiful or right. And it's just like, but there's only certain forms of it that, and only certain people or only certain characters can pull off certain things in certain ways sometimes. So it is interesting, like, say you see a celebrity in like a very low cut gown, and they say, oh, that is just beautiful, that is like exquisite evening wear or whatever, and so gorgeous and so queenly, and or you put it on someone else and they're like, oh, what a slut, and who do you think you are, and stuff like that. And it's just like such double standards, and it's so weird. Like, I don't even know. I think that's like sometimes part of our like split heart mind fragmented schizoid delusions, you know, like you can't be this and you can't be that and you can't be this, but you've got to be this and you've got to be that, and it's so contradictory, like all the beliefs, like it's just like it's meant to put us into a spin, and yeah, maybe put us into apathy or into I can't measure up, or I've got to always strive, yeah, to be worthy, to be alive, and like to justify my life. So it's very exhausting, very tiring. And then the other one, like the extreme end of that, on the other like swing of the pendulum, like either like spending like 3-4 hours in front of the mirror, like that's what I used to do. I was so super obsessive, like I had to look just right. Sometimes like it depended on where I was at the time, or like where I was going, and what I expected of myself in certain ways. But yeah, sometimes it would be extra excessive and ridiculous, like super ridiculous, like 4 fucking hours in front of the mirror, and I still like wasn't happy when I left the house, like with myself. But sometimes I was like, yep, it worked out, you know, like, but still, like, putting so much energy, so much time, so much effort into the superficial, into the outer appearance, that like I always neglected what was inside. And I knew that I was doing that too. I was like, but if I could just like be good enough on the outside, then I can take the time to go on in the inside and sort through some stuff and figure it out, you know. Like, so it was all sorts of cock blocks and twisted fuckery. So on the other side of that was like, okay, I don't care anymore, like whoever like doesn't want to like appreciate or acknowledge or accept me, like, yeah, that's up to them. And like I just don't really want to put energy and time into this like this black hole anymore. And it was just like one of those things too, like where it's just like I got really depressed and down on myself, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't even want to like take the time like to do anything like as far as that went, like dressing up and like, yeah, like attending to my physical appearance, and with like even just like stuff that it was like either all or nothing extreme kind of a thing, and I needed to do that to find my own balance and my own way. And so sometimes like, yeah, and I wasn't like, yeah, I was doing my best to be accepting and allowing of myself through this time, where I went to the opposite extreme of I don't want to wear makeup anymore. I'm just gonna sit around in yoga pants and a t-shirt all day. And yeah, it was like so great. Like, yeah, just kind of like the other end of the spectrum, the slob, or yeah. We'll see what else comes out, wants to be expressed through this thread and this stream here. But yeah, it was interesting. So it's doing like a total 180 from like, you know, spending all that time primping and priming and creating some alter image of myself, or something that would be maybe acceptable, desirable, wanted, needed, valued. Yeah. And also like to prove that I was worthy. And also I was looking at those things a couple years ago, like where it's like, yeah, why is our value as women like measured on a scale of our fuckability or whatever, you know? And it's just like, like that really bothered me too. And so like in a way I was feeding into it, but in a way I was resisting it, and that was like my inner struggle too. Like it was a love-hate thing, or I loved putting on makeup and like feeling like good and put together and stuff, but I hated having to, and I'm resenting having to do it because I wasn't good enough or I just couldn't measure up without it. And so it was like I was a slave to it. And so it was like my own tyrant slave relationship with certain things that I had to be or I couldn't be. And I'm so done with all those fucked up stories, you know? So I played my share of time in them. So yeah, I can let those, I'll like really, really bless and love the lessons that I received through them and lovingly release them now. Yeah. And so I am coming like back into that balance now, like, and it's so feeling good. Like this last year, like I've actually like felt like, okay. And I did have some like problems with my eye for a little while, like where I actually wanted to wear makeup, but I actually couldn't. Because every time I put it on, it would flare up again and I'd have like a huge, like swollen eye. And so it was like, this is interesting. Okay, I guess I'll just let it go for now and surrender this that I mean, I'd like to wear makeup, but it's like, yeah, not the best for my eye right now. So I'm, here's my face, here's my naked face. And I'm getting comfortable with like this transparency and this like dropping the mask, dropping the old masks, dropping all the layers that I used to cover myself up with. That was like a huge part of it. Like that was like a physical part of it. Like how I tried to create this character or this appearance of myself, this self-image, this outer image. Which was authentic as well in certain ways because I added my own unique elements of style to it and my own unique preferences and likes and things. And so, yeah, it wasn't all like forced and farcical, but some of it was, and I felt like I had to do it. And so, yeah, that made me resent like myself and like, yeah, all the things that went with it or that are related. So, yeah, and then like just the poor self-esteem and the low self-esteem of I'm not good enough. Yeah, kind of beliefs. And I know I'm not alone in that, like, seriously. Like, we've been conditioned to believe that we do lack and that to stay in that victim poverty lack consciousness so that we're always looking externally on the outside of us for something to fill us up so that we will be enough, or even if it's only temporary, that or we can appear to be enough. We like playing that role of the fraud or feeling like a fraud inside, like in certain ways as well. And so just kind of had to, for a little while, you know what, it's okay if I don't feel like doing this and I can just be a bum and like allow this like period or this phase or this stage, this unwashed state. And it reminded me of that unwashed state of the Handless Maiden where I had no interest in certain states of the world, or like in what was going on out there or what out there was requiring from me. I had no interest in that, and I walked around more like an animal than a human, I think, too, like where that's what I felt like. And even though I was just me, but just like a different version and like stripped away of all of the finery and the accessories. So yeah, that was like kind of going through my own ego identity death or restructuring and all of that in a lot of different ways. And so it has been like a couple years now where like I totally kind of let some of that go. I'd put on my makeup for special occasions or put on a nice outfit for some kind of nice or interesting event. But like for the most part, like I totally like, yeah, I didn't let myself go, but it probably appeared that way to a lot of people who knew me, like that, oh, she doesn't take any pride in her appearance anymore. But it was like something I needed to do for myself, like because I had, yeah, this pattern that wanted to be dissolved, and it was just like, okay, this is uncomfortable, but yeah, it's just like kind of like willing to receive that, because I was so done with like trying so hard to please, like, and I could never please myself, like, and yeah, and it was, I did notice in certain ways that like I was treated differently, where if I was like all put together and everything, I felt like I received like more attention and respect, and help, actual like help, and like friendliness from the outer world, rather, and it was maybe how I carried myself. Maybe it had nothing to do with how I looked, but maybe it did. I don't know. So it's like beauty's in the eye of the beholder and all of that. So it is interesting, like where when I didn't, like when I showed up to this, you know, like go grocery shopping or whatever without makeup on, or yeah, without like looking like I stepped out of a catalog of some kind, or just like, I don't know what the hell. But yeah, I kind of noticed like that people weren't as interactive or friendly or engaging, or there was something different about it. Yeah. And then it's just like, well, this isn't personal. This isn't really about me. Maybe it's about how I feel about myself. Maybe I'll look at that instead of like, oh, people don't really accept me, or see my beauty if I don't, like, yeah, I don't know. So it was just one of those things where it was like, yeah, it's easier for me if I please people. I'm more willing to get what I need in certain ways. And so, yeah, these were kind of the patterns of manipulation and deceit, self-deceit, that I got to learn from through playing into. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, just reconciling those two. The perfectionist, and then the one that has apathy, that doesn't give a fuck. And so trying to find that middle way. Yeah. And be appreciative of all my ways. Of every way I get to be. And so she wasn't allowed to be alive. A life frozen, not allowed to be alive. So be wary of becoming addicted to self-righteous indignation and victim entitlement. Judge on the hamster wheel stories. Feeding and fueling the negative emotions and keeping it going through a refusal to accept or surrender. Feel kiss flow, letting go, and acknowledging the pain, grief, sadness, loss. Personal and collective devastation. Instinct injury, leg traps, and being captured, decapitated, internally split and fragmented. And so, yeah, I didn't know I was going to like go into all of that, but it's awesome and fun because it does relate to what I've been digging up from the underbelly, and through like putting my personal feelings aside and employing that Uranian vision, which is really freaking cool too, because of like the astrology happening, like, yeah, with this Saturn and Uranus. Uranus, though, is great because I've been working with the asshole. And so I really, really appreciate that asshole, that inner asshole, because that asshole holds so much. So just remembering some funny things about like the asshole from like the last year, where I was having such a hard time accepting the asshole, and now like that's coming around in another layer for me to work with. And the asshole can be really fun to work with, actually, if we're not resisting what the asshole really holds for us. It's so funny because it's potent gold, like that we get to transform, like from that lead, from that shit. Yeah. That all that's very abundant within that asshole. So it's great fun to play with the asshole. And so, like, yeah, the sacred and the profane. So reverence and irreverence. Let's play this balanced game. Yeah. And know that both parts of the whole are equal. So the asshole, yeah. So the Uranian vision. which is very, very, very amazing and cool, because I picked up this Mythic Astrology book the other day by Liz Greene, and there was something about the Pisces energies that I wanted to share a couple days ago. And so I was going to look back at that for a minute, but I actually, I flipped right at the Pisces. But I actually flipped open to this little snippet on Uranus, and it was great because it just brought back some nugget that I had received months ago, and it's coming back in now for deeper penetration. It's just like innuendo. Okay. Uranus, Lord of the Starry Heavens. Uranus, the architect of creation, designs the orderly patterns of the universe and envisages his creation imbued with symmetry and beauty. At this celestial drawing board, no flaws appear, nor any disharmony arising from the imperfections of mortality. All is order and system, everything perfectly self-regulated and moving in its appointed path with elegant geometry, a vision of a cosmos and of human potential, which forever inspires our hopes, yet forever shames us as we struggle with our mortal limits. So just making peace with, that we all have our limitations, and our limitations are actually right for us, and they are a part of our structures. And so it is interesting. And I was looking at the generational cycles and traditional Chinese medicine the other day as well, and how all of those elements actually help to keep all the other elements in balance, and how they all have their own restraining qualities so that everything can be in balance. And so it is so super interesting. We might go into that further. We'll see what wants to be around that. But this is what I received from this Uranus bibliomancy, and this is page 44 and 45. And it says, not because of the actions of any one individual, but through the power of ideas which break forth from the collective psyche and find an appropriate human mouthpiece. And so that's in the middle of a sentence here. So the great turning points of human history occur not because of the actions of any one individual, but through the power of ideas which break forth from the collective psyche and find an appropriate human mouthpiece. The Reformation, which swept Northern Europe in the 16th century, began with an idea that human beings were responsible directly to God and needed no papal intermediary, and found a mouthpiece in Martin Luther. The American and French revolutions of the 18th century likewise drew their power from an idea whose time had come, the right of everyone to contribute a voice to the future shape of the nation in which they live. Ideas can go badly wrong, as did the Bolshevik revolution, yet even when human nature distorts the purity of the vision, as it inevitably will, the idea itself reflects the Uranian need for progress and evolution. Many people find it difficult to express Uranus, for they are required to detach themselves from their immediate emotional needs and look toward a bigger future design. Such detachment can feel cold and frightening because it seems to belittle the value of the individual. We may know that a divorce, a change of career, or a separation from family may ultimately be best for everyone, but that does not take away from our very human pain and anger at such crisis points in life. We must pay a price for Uranian vision, for its clear light exposes all our petty propensities for manipulation, narcissism, spite, and greed. Uranus also reflects our need for a code of ethics that lies beyond any individual sense of personal importance, a code which has no pity for our difficulties if they interfere with the efficient functioning of the whole. Many people are frightened of the disruption this strangely impersonal urge within them might unleash. They hope that by suppressing it, they will not be called upon to stand on the mountaintop and look down with honesty and clarity at the road of their lives. So, there is that. Many people are frightened of the disruption that this strangely impersonal urge within them might unleash, because it is like that. It's that positive force within our psyches that opposes the established order, and it shakes the tree and it makes waves, it rocks the boat, and it upsets the apple cart. Yeah, and all of those things. And so sometimes those are the things that we avoid the most until that part of ourselves keeps pestering and badgering us, and yeah, like the coyote tricking us or setting up little traps for us or pop quizzes for us. Yeah, until we get the message, or until we're, yeah, we clear the illusion away and come to our senses. Yeah, so it's kind of fun to see it that way. A positive force of the psyche that rocks things up or that capsizes the boat. And yeah, like maybe we're so afraid of going into the water, but maybe like once we're finally in the water, we're just like, oh, this wasn't so bad. I was wasting all that energy like avoiding it or prolonging the misery, and now I'm in the water, and wow, check out what's in here and this experience of being in this. Yeah. So I think it's kind of silly that way. Like we're so silly and we get in our own ways, like without even realizing it until we do. So many people are frightened of the disruption the strangely impersonal urge within them might unleash. They hope that by suppressing it, they will not be called upon to stand on the mountaintop and look down with honesty and clarity at the road of their lives. Yet if we avoid expressing Uranus, its creative power will erupt into our personal world in spite of us, through change which we unconsciously need, and in some cases even provoke, but which we may experience as personally devastating when it arrives. The heavenly vision of Uranus may sometimes seem impersonal and cold, yet it offers us greater freedom through a new and broader perspective on our lives. So that's awesome. Mythic Astrology, Liz Greene. And so, yeah, Pisces. So the underwater landscape of Pisces is the magical kingdom at the bottom of the sea, where shapes both monstrous and beautiful swim through the waters, and the secret of immortality is hidden in the depths. The many myths of a magic cauldron or tree of eternal life buried beneath the waves tell us that Pisces embodies the human spirit's longing for eternity, doomed to conflict with the compulsions of the instincts, yet triumphant even in the face of death. And so, tell us that Pisces embodies the human spirit's longing for eternity, doomed to conflict with the compulsions of the instincts, yet triumphant even in the face of death. In the darkness at the bottom of the sea lurk life-threatening creatures which, rising up from the depths of the unconscious, terrify us with their blind hunger and savagery. These images reflect the flood of primitive emotion which lies beneath the civilized surface of human society. The surface. Throughout history, these unconscious forces have risen up to generate the collective madness of wars, purges, and inquisitions. Throughout history, these unconscious forces have risen up to generate the collective madness of wars, purges, and inquisitions. The exquisite and fragile creatures which also inhabit the depths of the sea express the ineffable beauty of life and the human soul, communicable only through music, poetry, painting, and mystical vision. Those in whom Pisces is strong do not have darker or lighter souls than other people, but they are more attuned than the other zodiacal signs to deep currents of the collective psyche. For the sense of individual identity in Pisces is often blurred and open to a more universal perception of life. The underwater world of Pisces belongs to all of us, generating not only our most appalling destructiveness, but also our noblest and most exquisite creations. Those in whom the sign is emphasized are the witnesses and portrait artists of these denizens of the depths. On an everyday level, Pisces' receptivity to the hidden world of the collective unconscious can lead to creative versatility and power and a sense of profound compassion for all life. There is often deep religious feeling in Pisces, which reflects the visionary qualities of the sign's planetary rulers, Jupiter and Neptune. Such awareness of a larger, more inclusive universe can also cause problems, for there is no human dilemma which Pisces does not recognize or find familiar. Those in whom the sign is strong identify readily with every shade of the human emotional spectrum and may find it difficult to defend their own ground or protect themselves from exploitation. The mythic image of the Redeemer, who is also a victim, may express itself through sacrificial acts which confer subtle power as well as pain. Pisces is deeply in touch with the poignancy of mortal existence, for its place at the end of the zodiacal cycle reflects a gentle disengagement from the imperative self-expression which dominates the earlier signs. The longing to go home may express itself as a quest for oblivion through compulsions such as alcoholism and drug addiction. Equally, it may be demonstrated compassionately through the need to heal this particular form of despair in others. Equally, it may be demonstrated compassionately through the need to heal this particular form of despair in others. Pisces can be mercurial and changeable as the currents of the sea, filled with a melancholy awareness of the transience of life. Yet, lacking the prickly pride of self-importance, Pisces also possesses a great capacity for laughter and sensual delight. For those in whom the sign is strong, know the secret of how to let go. So, planets placed in Pisces will express their energies and drives in a fluid, sensitive, and indirect way. In the strongly Piscean nature, there is often a sense that life is a stage play with a painted backdrop and a limited run, and planets placed in Pisces perform their roles with subtle theatricality. The sense of unreality, combined with the sign's rich imagination, may produce wonderful creative gifts, particularly in drama, music, and film. Extraordinary intuitive leaps may also occur in the fields of physics and mathematics, which may provide superb playgrounds for the far-ranging Piscean mind. Life viewed through the eyes of the fishes is like a dream, and everyday happenings are infused with strange and subtle meanings. Flowing with the current is preferable to pointless struggle, and there is often deep trust in a higher intelligence wiser than any human being. Pisces' gentleness can sometimes lead to self-destructive passivity, and powerful primal emotions can flood consciousness just as the great tides inundate the land. At such moments, it may seem as though chaos threatens the stability of ordinary life. Yet, if the strongly Piscean individual is prepared to give shape to such feelings through creative forms and can learn to live in peace with the duality of flesh and spirit, Pisces, last of the water signs and the completion of the zodiacal cycle, embodies all that is most compassionate, most universal, and most deeply connected with that deeper reality which underpins the whole of existence. Wow. That was awesome. That was from page 111 and 112. And then there's a picture here of Pisces, the fishes. In the underwater landscape of Pisces, the fishes, elusive and mercurial, share the depths with the octopus that guards the buried treasure. Those eager to reach the gold at the bottom of the sea and drink from the cauldron of immortality must fight their way through clinging, Those eager to reach the gold at the bottom of the sea and drink from the cauldron of immortality must fight their way through clinging, strangling tentacles and black clouds of ink, for the guardian will allow no greedy mortal to claim what belongs to the spirit alone. Yet the magical light of the ancient treasure is a beacon and a promise to those who have lost their way in life and can trust the currents of the waters to bring them safely home again. Super awesome. Mythic Astrology by Liz Greene. Super, super fun and awesome. And so, time flies so fast, and so much is coming in, like, always, in every single moment, and every day. And it's just like, I feel like, I come down here to talk about, like, certain things that have come up in the last days, and I feel like I'm barely scratching the surface, and, but yeah, I am glad just to at least share a little bit. I mean, just like little bits and fragments or little nuggets and pieces of all of these things that relate. And our being revealed revealed through being, through the art of being, and living, growing and engaging and changing, being more conscious, consciously living. And so fun. Like there are so many like great practices and everything that I've received from this Medusa sadhana, and can't even tell you like how freaking amazing all of it is, really. So, but I was looking in my Science and Symbols source book the other day because there was something I was going to go look at. I wanted to go look at certain elements and different things, and I actually did like find some really fun things, and doing some bibliomancy, just flipping it open and then going, oh my gosh. So the fruits, looking into the fruits and the seeds and the roots and of the tree, all the parts of the whole full tree of life, and everything connects eventually. And so just kind of looking at the fruits and what the fruits symbolize, and how the fruit tree and the orchard and the forest, and it's all part of the story. And it's like, there's so much about that and around that, about the Great Mother, and about like our fertility, our divine feminine wisdom, and our fecundity, and all of that. And sensuality, sexuality, and everything is born of women. And so it was so fun, like every time like I opened this book up, I got something like just like wow. And so right here, just open to page 310 and 311, and this is all about plants, which is kind of fun. Rosemary, rue, saffron, sage, spikenard, St. John's wort, stock, and strawberry. And it has like all these symbolic and magical like qualities of different plants and flowers and things like that. And that's like really awesome too, because I've always loved working with the plants and Mother Nature. And that's been coming up a lot lately too, where I have a friend who she's doing like a little holiday boutique and asked a bunch of us to participate. And I thought, hey, that'll be fun, like she's like, hey, why don't you bring some of your tea blends that you make and stuff? And I was like, oh, I have a lot more than that, like that can be ready and done and all of that. So I've been busy in my kitchen creating certain things, and it's just been a process. It's been certain steps that I've gotten to take, but all of it, like putting it all together, seems like a mountain. And it was my old pattern of that all or nothing, where it's just like, no, it's okay, just break it up into little small steps and just focus on the basics and tend to the details and what's here now, is there space and all of that. So it's kind of interesting to work and play with that. And so super fun, like making some tea blends and like all sorts of different wellness gifts. So they're delicious and nutritious. And so like I have like some herbal tinctures that have been brewing in my kitchen since July and August that are going to be ready. And since we're in this full moon portal energy right now, I'm going with the cycles of the moon and going to gratefully harvest those. So going through my own process, so they've been fermenting in their juices, and and now like becoming something new. So it reminds me of that conjunctio, rubbing two unlike substances together to form a new substance or create a new whole. So that's super fun, alchemy. So and making some herbal tinctures. So what I do is there's usually like a certain ratio when you're using dried herbs versus fresh herbs, and how much vodka to put in it and whatnot. And I use like organic vodka. So yeah, it's just like adding like the organic sustainable herbs and then putting like the vodka in the jar and then kind of waiting and letting nature and the elements and the plants and the alcohol and the spirit do its thing, like, and the moon cycles and all of that. So it's interesting how the plant material or the compounds from the plant is kind of like extracted out of it, like into the alcohol, and it creates something very, very potent. So I say if you don't want to drink like 5 cups of tea, you can take a little bit of a tincture, and get the same benefits from that plant. Even though at certain times less is more, or more is less, or yeah, more is more. So it's interesting, yeah. And it's like all about like personal preference and actual discernment as well, and paying attention to what works for us or what might work better. And so yeah, it's kind of fun like to get into all of that. But super, super grateful like that I got to start creating tinctures about 5 or 6 years ago. I was so afraid to start because I was afraid I was going to mess it up or do it wrong. But it was just like, how can you really do that wrong? Like maybe it's too strong or it's a little bit weak, or yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's like there's no one right way like to learn how to do like some of these things. But yeah, obviously it's good to do some research and look at things and learn a little bit and learn through trial and error and through our own process and our own experience. And so yeah, super, super happy. Like I've benefited so much through my wellness practices in working with the plants and receiving so much wisdom and help and assistance from the plants. Yeah, in so many different ways, on so many different levels, so many different planes. And so it's so awesome, like, yeah, working with the plants. And then like also doing like fun things like that make me feel good, and I love sharing them too, because it's like it is like the gift of self-care and self-nurturing. So making different products like from good ingredients, like body butter, because yeah, what we do put on our skin is just as important as what we put in our body as well, because we absorb different things through our skin and it goes into our bloodstream, and we don't realize sometimes like what we're actually putting on our bodies and how it's actually being absorbed within, and how it does affect our well-being and our how well we can feel and all of that. And so yeah, just certain things that some people may not be aware of either, that like, yeah, there are like a lot of different ingredients that are toxic, that are like all up in our different products that we use daily, or that we're encouraged to use daily, or that we think we have to use. Like, yeah, but there are so many other options and alternatives and non-toxic and regenerative resources and allies, yeah, to draw upon and learn from. So I just wanted to add that. So yeah, there is some fun things. The centaur has been coming up, like the half man, half beast. So that's got some interesting, yeah, archetypal energy and themes in it. So, and it's also relating to Chiron, the wounded healer, and also relates to Sagittarius. And the arrow of Sagittarius keeps coming up for me as well. And so it was really fun in here to look at centaur. Like I wasn't even looking, but it like, yeah, I was just kind of flipping through and I was like, oh, okay. Like, because the centaurs had been coming up in my writing, like, and also in my reviews and my visions and things. So I was like, oh, that's awesome that I get to see that again. And then below it, there was chimera and then demon. And since I had been looking at the demon complex of where we felt so unworthy and evil and not good enough, or just undesirable. Like, so we reject all these parts of ourselves so that we can be acceptable and approved. We can receive that approval and secure our place of belonging in the whole or in their tribal group or whatever it is. And hide these other parts of ourselves that may not be acceptable. And it's like, like there's a time and a place for everything, and it's good sometimes just to use discernment, and sometimes it's good to use restraint. Yeah. And so, and not say everything that we think, but like use our words with wisdom and impeccability, and do our best to honor our word and how we're using it to engage. Are we using it as a weapon, or are we using it as a blessing or a prayer? Are we offering words of encouragement, or are we injuring or attempting to injure someone else, using it as a weapon? Because it does burn us as well. It's like a sword. It can cut away like what we no longer need, but it can also cut into us as well. So we got to use it wisely, So the demon complex and the demon, I thought this was so super interesting. And then I'll close out with sharing something from the Awakening Women's Institute and Shamele Arda and the Medusa Sadhana. My glasses were upside down. Yep, sometimes we need to go upside down to get turned around. Turned all around. The demon. So the idea of a creature that is the personification of evil forces is ancient. There are incantations designed to repel demons that date back as far as the first millennium BC, although they are not referred to as such. Essentially, in a world that is comprised of opposing forces, there must be a balance of male, female, black, white, good, bad. It makes sense that we need there to be a shadow side to good forces. Although the demon, as it is commonly accepted today, is seen to be a malicious and ungodly creature, that is the epitome of evil. The word originally meant something rather different. The Greek daemon was a divine being with its own energies and powers. Each person had such an aspect to their soul, which was connected to the Great Spirit and could be responsible for sudden flashes of inspiration or enlightenment, literally their genius. And Michael Meade wrote a book about this exact thing. Michael Meade. It was like, something about the inner genius. And I went to hear him speak a couple years ago. Went to one of his workshops, and I super enjoyed his storytelling and all these things. Yeah. This essential spirit, so this literal inner genius, their own genius. So we all have that inner genius, even though we've been taught to believe that we don't have that. But we do. That's our divine spark, and it's our direct connection to like divine spirit and God and creator, our creative creator. And so this essential spirit helps its human owner to connect with a higher consciousness. Places, too, had their demons, represented, for example, in the spirits of the elements, the salamanders, sylphs, nymphs, and undines. Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy uses the notion of this familiar spirit in a beautiful and memorable way. Many of the pre-Christian deities of all nations had these creative demon-like qualities. However, these ancient entities, if not absorbed and renamed as saints, were heavily discredited by the early church and made into evil entities in the effort to replace the old pagan gods with the one patriarchal God of the Christian faith. These evil beings or demons are described in many different ways and include fairies, pixies, elves, goblins, and many others. To demonize something or someone is to represent a demon, i.e. to discredit or contaminate in some way. To demonize something or someone is to represent as a demon, i.e. to discredit or contaminate in some way. Yeah, so there's a lot of demonization going on. There's a lot of demonization going on right now. There are certain whole groups of people or being lumped into a stereotype together and being demonized and blamed and scapegoated in certain ways. And so, yeah, this is part of my frustration and exasperation. And so, Lilith, the first wife of Adam, is commonly described as an arch-demoness. Lilith already existed in different form as the ancient goddess Astarte, who is connected to Venus, Aphrodite, and Nana. But Lilith's refusal to adopt the missionary position among other things, meant that she was cast out and replaced with the seemingly much more compliant Eve. Thereafter, Lilith was accused of all sorts of diabolical misdemeanors. There is also the idea that demons are the result either of angels mating with ordinary human women, or they are angels who have rejected their godlike nature. These evil demons are supposed to be able to take possession of human people in order to carry out their evil plans. Psychologically speaking, the demon has come to symbolize the difficult part of the personality or psyche that a person has to come to terms with in order to achieve balance and peace of mind. So that's just one way, or more than one way, to look at those things, or to view those things, or to hold a perspective around those things. So I thought that was super fun and interesting. And also, like, some of the other things that I got to, like, look into that do relate to all of these things I've been looking at and into. There was, like, the 3 blessed fruits of Buddhism, the 3 blessed fruits. And one of those was the peach, the pear, oh gosh, what was the other one? So yeah, it's so interesting, like looking at all these things. So I was looking at Hathor and her connection to malachite and her connection to the fig tree and all of that. So like the fig, and then there's the apple tree, and then there's also the pomegranate, and there's also the peach, and yeah, all those things. Where I was reading in The Handless Maiden Tale, where Clarissa Pinkola Estes, she was going into that, like what kind of a fruit and what it represented and what it symbolized and why and all those things. And it was kind of fun to like see all these things, all these synchronicities, and see all these similarities and why they hold different qualities or can be symbols, yeah, of these different aspects and qualities. And so, yeah, it's really fun to see all these things. And so, yeah, I wanted to share like one little thing as the sun's setting now, or yeah, getting close to it. So this one practice that I was given, yeah, to speak and allow that goddess to be here, allow myself to feel all I feel and to be with what is and with what's here. I really super appreciated that, and I realized so many different things, and it was just so fun to see. So I just like flipped open my journal, and it's on this page that's perfect right here. I am the goddess of unattainable standards, false pedestals of perfection, and the higher road, not for mere mortals or the faint of heart and the unenlightened. I am the idealist, the impossible ghoul. I am the impossible ghoul. And then it just felt like, yep, that's a ghoul. She's a ghoul. I am the goddess of rigid, narrow standards and control. I am the goddess of striving and needing to please, wanting you to measure up to my rigid standards of beauty to please and be seen as worthy and valuable, worthy of loving. I am the goddess of superficial and performance, playing a sex kitten role. Oh, superficial artifice. I am the goddess of superficial artifice and performance, playing a sex kitten role. I am the goddess with the full makeup mask. I am the goddess dressed to the nines. I am the goddess that measures and lies through comparison stories, not enoughness, too muchness, Not enoughness, too muchness, too muchness, just right. Yeah, my expectations and standards are beyond reach, so close but yet so far. Perfect in plastic, no room to grow in, frozen and stuck in time, or in the illusion, the fantasy, the not now, and the past. In beliefs and laws that aren't mine, standards and ideals and lies. Look at me, desire me, see my beauty, see my worth, give me attention, give to me. Validation, affection, worship, and adore me. Tell me I am so beautiful, tell me I am worthy, because I am this perfect love. Tell me that you love me, and I am so enough as I am worthy of loving. I do love dressing up and getting all dolled up, but it took so much for me when I thought I had to do it to be enough, to measure up, to conceal my flaws, to hide my face, to cover up. To cover my face, to mask my face, to manipulate my face, manipulate myself, manipulate my feelings, body needs, to manipulate my being, my appearances. Because I wasn't enough as I was. I was not good enough. I was not desirable. I was not worthy of love. I was not worthy of care, attention, affection, belonging, inclusion, admiration, adoration, appreciation, or worship. I was not worthy of consideration. Oh, and fear of my own power and my own beauty, desirability, sexual power, my sensuality, my Shakti energy that does draw attention from the masculine and feminine, and it has caused me problems in the past. It has caused a lot of problems because of the way it was perceived and misdirected and not allowed to be. And so I did sometimes use it to manipulate, but other times I was just being myself and it was pure innocence, but it was misinterpreted in certain ways. And so I learned to manipulate in certain learned ways, through modeled behavior or, some of this old imprinting, to get attention and to please and to be pleased or pleasing, to feed and flatter my ego and to feel I was worthy of being loved. And it's uncomfortable sometimes to see how powerful I am and how dangerous it can feel or seem. To have this power to create, conceal, reveal, devour, heal, and kill. And dang, just suppressing that or pushing it all away for protecting me and we, or avoiding that intimacy because it scares, intimidates, and frightens me and we. What am I? Yeah, because what are we and what I am capable of? For good or for bad, for well or for ill. And I choose loving good, and I choose all my love. I choose what is real. And I'll acknowledge my small vain ego and the attention whore, the saboteur, and the fantasy performer, the courtesan whore. The courtesan. The play actor, the wounded child, the addict, and the narcissist. The codependent, the drama queen, the femme fatale, the sex kitten, the people pleaser, the whore, the abandoner, the betrayer, the possessive jealous lover, the devourer, the monster, and the controlling mother. The wild party girl, the bored housewife, the fake Stepford wife, but not even that, only a second-class piece of ass. Orphan, outsider, outcast, whore, saboteur, wounded child. Please love me, please desire me, please want me, please see me, please need me, please please me, please please. The goddess of low self-worth, shame, and poor self-esteem. And that's like what I got from that. It's like my goddess of perfection actually relates to the goddess of low self-worth, the goddess of shame. And so after that, I continued that and got more the next day. And that's like how potent like that exercise was for me, because it just like kind of brought it all to the surface and I got to dump it on the page and then actually see. I had no idea actually, or I had forgotten that the perfectionist relates to being ashamed, like and that low self-worth, that programmed shame and that low self-worth, that inherited core belief that you're not worthy, because you're born from original sin or whatever that bullshit is, you know, like to keep us under the thumb of this totalitarian system. And so, yeah, that's just one little snippet and one little nugget of some potent business. Some things are God's business. Yeah. And so maybe I will just copy and paste a little quote from this Medusa sadhana that relates to all I've been sharing in this stream. And so, yeah, now that hour and 30 minutes has passed, and so I feel complete with that. And I like that, those numbers, 13. So, all right, well, thanks for listening, and thanks for being here, and doing your thing, however you get to be, and however you get to do it for you, however it gets to be. And yeah, good luck and all the best and well wishes and blessings in and through all of these new beginnings and endings. And even though these changes are necessary, yeah, it's helpful to remember compassion and empathy for ourselves and others as we're going through these changes and this upheaval and this devastation. Even though, like, some of it is, like, critically needed in a lot of ways, but it just so looks terrible on the surface. So may we all remember to be patient and loving and kind with ourselves and hold the space for all of ourselves to be held and loved and included, yeah, and integrated, honored, and freed to be. So keep that energy circulating and feel into it. Yeah, kiss her and flow with her. Yeah, with ourselves through our own lives. And yeah, in our own time, our own process. And it does help to be still and to come back home to ourselves and to center and remember what's right here, what's here now. And so with that said, I love y'all. Wishing you peace. Wishing you joy. Wishing you every good thing. Wishing you all the love for your whole being, that you need. All right. We'll see ya. Bye for now.